Welcome to the Once and Future Authors podcast. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so excited to be joined by one of my favorite guests. You've met Debbie DeLouise before, but we're here today with the case of the Llama Raising Librarian. It is book 3 in the Buttercup Bend Mystery Series. So we're going to hear not just about the llama, but about the whole series today with Debbie. And I do have a soft spot for llamas. So when I saw the llama book coming out, I knew I had to get her on the podcast. Thanks for joining me today, Debbie.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thrilled to have you. And anyone who follows my travels all over knows last summer I was fortunate enough to go to South America. And there's a lot of llamas in South America. They dressed them up there with bows and ribbons. And I went to a llama farm. And so when I saw your llama book, I felt like we had a kinship going. But start me off with what inspired you with the Llama Raising Librarian.
Well, actually, a reader who was a newsletter subscriber, I had a contest. One of the contests, because when I already knew the first 2 books, The Cat Crazy, I knew I would have a cat in the first book, and then the parrot-loving professor. I don't know how I came up with that. Well, I knew I needed a professor. I'm trying to do a little alliteration. So the parrot professor, so each book is going to have an animal. And I asked them to submit what the next animal would be. And I did randomly, I chose the llama. And then I asked for a title. And they came up with the actual title that they came up with, the Llama Loving Librarian, which was really alliterative. But there was a reason why I wanted to have it a little different. So I just changed it slightly, but I did want a librarian because the series itself has a library. But in this book, where she actually goes to a llama farm, the librarian has been murdered.
Oh,
she's a retired librarian because, as you know, I recently retired. A lot of the books in the future are going to have what's going on in my life, because it's going to be building a home, and that's another some of my experience.
I love this. I love art imitating life. This is great.
And when you mentioned the llamas in South America.
Peru, yes.
Yeah, right. That's one of the Lulu, who is the main character in the book, main animal character, is from Peru. They bring her to the farm, which is based on, there were 2 farms that I interviewed. One of them I actually went to. One was upstate. And I modeled it kind of a conglomeration of the 2 farms. But I used, one of the farms had barn cats. And you know how I love cats. And there's cats in my series. So, of course, not only was the llama featured, but these 3 barn cats were featured. And the other farm I actually went to. And that's where I don't know if I should give it away. But I found something out at that farm when I was there. I guess I might as well say. Oh, no, maybe I shouldn't, because
no spoilers. Yeah.
But it gave me inspiration, because I had already written the book when I went to this farm.
Okay.
But I was still editing the book, for the publisher. And while I was there, as I saw the different llamas, there was something that struck me. And I went back, and it was very easy. And I added it to the story. But that's something that I don't want to, I guess I shouldn't give away right now. It has something to do with llamas.
I love that. And the research and going to the llama farms. But I'm just going to dial it back for the moment to your original inspiration. You are the first author, and I've interviewed like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of authors, who has ever asked your audience, your fans, for input on the next book, the next character, the next title. I have never interviewed an author who did that. So was this just a light bulb moment? You thought, what the heck, I'll ask? Or that's brave.
I do know authors who have asked for characters, like pets. Like I know some cat, like I'm a member of the Cat Writers Association. I know some of the members have asked for pet names to use in there and that model it after the person's pet.
Right.
But no, I just thought it would be fun. It's something that helps readers get involved, to interact, and they win a prize. They either win a copy of the book, or so I also offer a prize for the winner. But usually I choose them randomly, but sometimes I go through them, and if I like something that really strikes me, like the llama dig. Llamas are very popular right now. I mean, I know cats are always popular, but llamas are popular. I was surprised as I started researching, and everywhere I went, I saw llama things. I saw, llama tops, llama jewelry, llama stuffed llamas. Everywhere I went, I've seen llamas right now.
Yeah, no, llamas are very popular. It's funny because years ago when I first read Penguin books, penguins were super popular.
Right,
They had just made the movie Happy Feet, and all of a sudden penguins were everywhere. But you're right. Every time I walk into a gift shop someplace, there's a llama.
It's so true.
Well,
But
that's good. You got a T-shirt too with a llama on it.
Yes, I wore this to the farm. I got this so I could wear it to the
Oh,
farm.
I love that.
And I can wear it, when I do Zooms and when if I do presentations, I can wear it for the book.
Absolutely. So tell me a bit about the whole series too. You have this one. Dial us back to the whole series. You happen to have that with you?
Well, yes. You want to see the book?
Yes.
Well, actually, my publisher has put the 3 books into one volume, which could be ordered as an ebook, or it could be ordered as a paperback. It's pretty heavy if it's a paperback, because it has 3 books.
Oh,
They're
wow.
not stories. They're not stories. They're full-length books.
So you could buy them separately too.
Yes, you.
That crazy lady.
I have links if you want me to put them in the chat. I can put links.
You know what? I'll put them in when we publish this.
Yeah, when we get to it. But what I like about this series, and it's funny because I didn't know when I first started it what it was going to develop into. Actually, I had several titles for the first book. I came up with The Case of the Cat Crazy Lady, and it's not usually they say the case of the crazy cat lady.
Okay.
But I changed it a little bit. But I had the idea for the story, and it's about a woman who owns a pet rescue center with her brother. And there's a backstory. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but they're orphans. She and her brother were orphans. There was an accident, parents were killed, and she lives with her grandmother. And her brother got married, and he lives next door. It turns out he was able to get a home next to the grandmother's house, and they own a pet rescue together. And that was my idea for the story. And the cat crazy lady was murdered. She was in the town. She was known. Her real name was Maggie Bloom. But in the town, because she took care of she had a lot of stray animals, stray cats, and that, so I worked that into the story, like why did she get killed? And I have, of course, I had a lot of suspects and red herrings and all of that. And then, of course, we go into the story. We introduce the main characters. We have Kathy Carter. She's the main character. Her best friend is Nancy Myers. And they get into investigating this murder, like as amateur sleuths. Then the second book I had at the end of the first book, well, I'm not going to give away the ending, of course, but I started something at the end of the first book that Kathy was going to go back to college. She never finished college because of the accident with her parents. It happened while she was in college. So she's a little older now, but she wants to go back to school. So then I thought, what kind of animal could I use with the professor? And I just came up with parrot, P for parrot. So the parrot-loving professor. And it turns out that the main character, the professor, is killed. It's the case of whoever it is, parrot-loving professor, that's the person who's killed. So I wanted to follow that. It's sort of like, the format, to have in each book a different animal and a person who's murdered, and that Kathy would be helping to solve those murders. And a lot of other things happen because there's subplots in the book. For instance, in the first book, Kathy starts dating these 2 men. Her gardener, who helps out with the pet rescue center, and she has a pet cemetery. and the veterinarian who helps in pet rescue.
Oh,
And she can't like kind of choose between these two men. Now, as the series continues in the second book, they go to a night. It's a 1970s like a disco dance party. It's a costume party, and there's a this is part of like a subplot to the murder mystery.
right, right.
So I try to throw that in. Now the third book, the one I just wrote, the one that a reader suggested, the llama and the title pretty much. I had to research, of course, llamas. I also researched parrots for the second book. I know everything about cats pretty much, so I didn't have to do research on
That's
that.
true.
So when I decided to write that and the librarian was going to be murdered, there is a librarian who's a regular person in the series. But Kathy now, she had gone to college, but she's off for winter break. And during this time, there's something going on between her and her two boyfriends, but she needs to get away from it. And it turns out that the town's librarian, has an offer for her, actually comes to her for help to investigate a murder of a friend. She used to work with this woman. The woman retired and now she's dead. Her daughter suspects she was murdered, but nobody else believes that. So they are going to go undercover. They go to the farm. Everybody knows Mildred, the librarian, because she had gone there. She was friends with the woman, but they don't know Kathy. So Kathy pretends to be her daughter. And that's how but they go there to help out on the farm, but they're actually investigating the murder.
Gotcha.
So that's the theme of that book, pretty much. And of course, the llama is something that goes on with the llama, and there's a lot of characters. But somebody just reviewed my book and said they love the book and they love llamas, but they learned something about them by reading the book.
Well,
and I feel like that's what I like, because I learned about parrots when I researched the parrot book.
right.
And so each book, and the next book I'm already started.
Oh my gosh.
It takes the whale watching. Wait, now I'm getting confused. The whale watching wedding planner. I'm sorry, it's all W's.
The whale watching wedding planner. Wow.
And there's a reason why there's a wedding planner. And I don't want to go because there's something that happens at the end of the llama book.
Right.
Leads into this book with the, like I discussed.
Gotcha. Now, did one of your fans suggest the whale?
And I have to go whale watching. I'm scheduled to.
You absolutely have to go whale watching. You absolutely, I love all this research. You went to the llama farm, you got a t-shirt, you're teaching people all about llamas who are reading this.
I have some other titles in mind. Somebody else suggested, it's going to be a dog book eventually, but I have like so many like animals, and I don't want them all to be usual animals. They could be a little bit unusual too,
Sure.
or they could be a breed or whatever, but they will all be featured, and there'll be a murder of somebody who is connected with them.
Gotcha. Have you ever been whale watching before?
No.
Well, I certainly hope that you.
I think it was a seal, last year.
Okay.
But that's in the winter. The whales are in the summer.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have more luck than I do. I've been whale watching 3 times so far.
Wow.
And I've seen 0 whales.
Where did you go? Did you go to Freeport?
I went to New Hampshire once.
Oh.
I went to Maine once. Maine, and just last week, I was on a whale watching trip in Nova Scotia. And the boat took us out, and the waves were so high that within 15 minutes, they brought the boat back and gave all of our money back.
Well, some of that could be in the story. I mean, they say you're not always successful, and who knows?
Successful. Although I will tell you, I did see a whale off the coast of New Jersey once when I was on a fishing boat. It wasn't a whale watching boat. It was a fishing boat, but I saw a whale. So.
Well, we go from llamas to whales.
Llamas to whales. That's a big jump. Llamas to whales. So you're getting the ideas from these books. Well, it sounds like partly from your audience and partly because you were describing how now they're retired and they're going to be moving. So partly from your life as well.
Yeah.
Although, Debbie, as long as I know you, I never knew you to juggle 2 boyfriends at once.
No. Well, Kathy is young, in the book. I do have her, she's young.
But
Not
that's
that,
okay.
not that young. She's almost 30. I think.
Okay. Hey, let her juggle the boyfriends, that's for sure. So you're getting your ideas from your readers, which I think is just fabulous. Do you find, because you are getting an idea from your readers as opposed to other books, I mean, how many books have you written now?
I think it's 17.
17 books. And the other books, at least from what I remember, the idea behind the book, the main character, whatever it might be, was something that came from your own creativity. Now that it's coming from, say, your audience, did you find it harder to kind of get going? Like when it was going to be a llama, were you like, oh my gosh,
No,
I don't know
no,
where it just came?
not at all, because that's how I kind of do it. But it's just that I just they don't tell me the story. They just gave me
But
the title and the idea. And but it's not going to be all the time that I'm going to ask for it, because
right,
I want,
of course.
but I don't find it hard because I just build a story around it. I just build a story. I just
I
have
love
to.
that. I love no, and that's inspiring to hear because a lot of people would say, especially to someone like you who's written 17 books, I would love to be a writer, but I don't have any ideas. And you've kind of just proven that not only are there a million ideas out there, but you can even run with it when somebody else gives you a bit of an idea, which is amazing.
I have like 2 unfinished books that I keep going back to, but now that I'm working on the series, because I write I write the standalones also.
Right, right.
So, and then sometimes I want to do a sequel to one of the standalones, or I want to do a different standalone. So I have a lot of ideas. It's just, I don't, it's not even being
Hours in the
retired,
day. Yeah,
but I still work sometimes. And then I have my daughter. There's so many things coming up. I've got to
exactly.
focus on one project at a time.
Well, I
So
can't imagine if you wrote 17 books with all those things on your plate, how many you would have written if you didn't have all those things on your plate. That's amazing. That's amazing. So you tell me, you did the research on the llamas.
mhm.
Share, let's say, what was the most surprising thing you learned about llamas or
uh,
funniest, what did you learn that you want to tell us about?
well, this is very funny. It kind of gives part of it away, but they'll have to read the whole thing for themselves. I found out that when they breed llamas, okay, how they can tell if the llama is pregnant,
Oh,
and they call it a spit test.
a spit
Be-
test?
Spit test, because what they do is if the llama, if they want to breed a particular llama with the male llama, they put them together for a while. Okay. Then after a certain period of time, and they take them away from each other. Then they notice if the llama is, maybe a little tired than normal or acting a little different, but they give it a certain amount of time. Then they bring the llama back in with that same male llama. And if she wants nothing to do with him, if she spits at him, she's pregnant.
No.
I said to them, is this true? And yes, it's true.
Could you imagine if that's the way people acted?
I mean, I'm sure like afterwards they verify it. Well, you'll see the
Right,
llama,
right.
they'll
Eventually they'll
verify.
get big.
That's the first test that they give the llama.
If she spits at her mate, she's
They
pregnant.
have 3 llamas at the Long Island Yawning Farm. I was on the Zoom with them yesterday. They have a contest going for when the llamas are going to have it. They have 3 llamas that are pregnant right
No way.
now. I want to see these babies when they're born. They're not born yet, but they have it down to like how close it will be, like the dates.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a contest for people on their website if they can guess when the llama, and what if it's going to be a boy or girl llama. So they do both. They guess and they win a gift certificate or something like it. It's very cute.
Oh
But
my.
one of them, now they took 2 away. I said, did they have babies? They said, not yet. But it's so close that they only have the one llama people can guess. So That test is just, I couldn't believe that. I didn't think
That's
really.
a crazy fact about llamas that I
So
never.
maybe that gives away something that happens in the book.
Well,
Right?
now I don't know if you can remember long enough ago, because the parrot book, you did all sorts of research. Do you
Yeah.
remember some crazy? What was your favorite parrot fact?
It's not so much a fact. Well, yeah, I did have something where I think it was in Argentina, and I may be wrong because, like I said, it has been a while. Um, they had done, I'm trying to like word this. So something about they were not legally, they did something, there was something, I wish I could get the book and tell you, but they were outlawed parrots because
Okay.
they were causing disruption like in the environment. There was something that they were causing issues. So like, so in the book, one of the characters came from that country and took it back here, took the parrot here. But
Right.
it's an indoor parrot.
Right.
These we're talking about outdoor parrots.
Gotcha.
In that country, they were, they couldn't have an outdoor parrot. They didn't want the parrots to be wild.
Right.
Because they were causing in the environment, they were causing issues. I remember that fact.
Interesting.
We have a parrot club, and in the parrot club in the book there are three men. There's a lot of suspects, but the parrot professor who was murdered, he had started a club for people who had parrots, and there were three men who joined the club, but one of them didn't even own a parrot. They just had interest in parrots.
Okay.
And one of the parrots only spoke Shakespearean phrases, and that plays a part in the story. The other parrot is like an English parrot, and the other one, the one that came from South America, has an accent, like he speaks Spanish, like a Spanish accent, because the parrots talk, but they, pick up the words that we say, and then there's a kidnapped parrot, and then it leads to something. The parrot that was the professor's. I'm not giving that away. So
Nope. I just want to give us a taste so we know. And I'm hearing also, so each book is a different animal, but I can tell that there's an overlying thread. So maybe we should start at book one when we're reading.
Right. I think the way the characters develop, it's a good idea to start with the first book, The Case of Cat Crazy Lady. Because of now I don't have all the characters in each book, but I introduce new characters for the murders, because you've got to have new suspects, you got to have, but Kathy Carter is the main character, and her friend Nancy, and then her two boyfriends, and her grandmother, and her brother. Right. So there's you would see how they develop from book to book.
Gotcha.
It would be good to start with the first book, but you don't, even if you start with the current book, you would have backstory.
Okay.
There would be a little bit of backstory, so you wouldn't be so confused, but you wouldn't know, like, who killed the professor. You wouldn't know that.
Wouldn't know that.
Know that he had been investigating that, So,
gotcha. But for all of our llama lovers out there, they can start with this book, and then once they fall in love with the series and the author, they can go back and read the other ones. That's okay too.
And the way this book ends, I did something with this current book that I didn't do with the first two.
Oh.
Because there's a subplot that's left hanging. And I know, like, some people don't like, cliffhangers. It's not a cliffhanger, but who killed. It ties the whole murder up and everything. But there's something else. And that's why that's continued in the whale watching wedding plan.
Okay. So we hope they start with one. If they start with three, well, for sure, they're gonna want four, which is the whale watching wedding planner.
And then there'll probably be a quartet of 4 books together. But yeah. And then from there, I have something going on with the house building. There's going to be a murder of a builder. I mean, yeah. I mean, I have plans for the future, but I don't know. I've got to think of the animal. I'm not really set yet with the animal. So.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And tell me something, as a writer, do you plan on kind of focusing on this series, or your kind of mind is saying, I might wake up one day and want to go back to this other series or do a standalone? How does that
Well,
work?
I do the Cobble Cove series, which is different than this one,
Right.
but I still want to continue that. I had the last book I wrote, the Sneaky Supernatural Mystery and other Cobble Cove stories. I'd like to continue it. I don't know when. And I also have two books that I haven't finished. Well, one I finished, but I'm editing it, but I'm not ready to submit it. It's a standalone time
Gotcha.
time travel. And then I have another one that's like a gothic, which
Oh,
is going to be that I wrote a long time ago, but I want to get to find the notes and then finish it. And there's a lot, but I am focusing on this series for now because I do the wedding planner has to go, and then maybe that has to be finished, and I'll do another one. But I do maybe go back to Sneaky because I do miss him. He was like the cat character, and I am up for a Muse Medallion Award from the Cat Writers Association for Sneaky Supernatural Mystery, not the book, but the short story that was in the book.
okay.
Stories. And there's another short story that I wrote nonfiction about my own cats. Um, First Christmas with Kittens. And that was in a new anthology that came out, The Cat and the Christmas Tree, which came out for the holidays. And I went back to when they were kittens and the first Christmas that I had with them, and it's nonfiction. And I'm up for an award for that one. So that's coming in October.
Fantastic. Well, I know that I have my fingers crossed for you, and I know they give you a beautiful prize. So next time you're on, hopefully you'll be wearing your Muse medallion. Let me just remind all of our viewers where they can get the Case of the Llama Raising Librarian. It is book 3 in the Buttercup Bend Mystery Series. But you can certainly start with this one if you are a big fan of llamas, as I am, and then you might want to go back and read about the parrots and the cats and be prepared for book 4, which is going to be coming out soon. And also, please do visit Debbie's website, her web address there, debbiedelouise.com, where you can find all of her books, 17 and counting. So you definitely want to get on her mailing list over there, especially in case she's going to be putting out any other contests to get a different name or something like that. And Debbie's also given me all of the purchase links for these books, which I'll have right there with the recap of our show here, so you can buy the books. Loved seeing you today, and seeing the llama. And you look like you are filming directly from the farm, which I adore. I'm a little worried that next time you film, you're going to be on a boat because we're going to have a whale jumping in the background. Thank you so much for joining me. And for all of our listeners, you'll want to get cracking on reading. There's more to come. Thanks.
Thanks, Stephanie.